Hey folks, welcome back to the channel and my recurring crafting guides we do for Escape from Tarkov. Now in these, I go through all the crafts and I figure out which ones make you the most profit and I compare them by rubles per hour to get them apples to apples and then show them to you so you can make some money. I look at the price trends on the components and dips and spikes and everything else so that I can get you the best information so that you can make the most amount of money without putting all that much work in. Now we'll go through each station, starting at the med station, and give you a couple of crafts to work through or work with so that you always have a little bit of options when it comes to these. So here at the med station, the first thing we're going to talk about is pile of meds. It's real simple. You should be crafting these pretty much all wipe once you can. You have to hang on to them for a little while sometimes, but they almost always make money. Key here, you're just going to buy your AI2s off the flea market. Try to get them for less than 4,100. As you can see, they're kind of cheap right now. Buy your bandages off of Therapist. Or cheaper. Again, you can get them a little bit cheaper here, but it's not really all that much. And then you want to get your augmentants for less than 17.5. And that can be tough to do some days. Some days it's really easy. If I see a bunch of them, I try to buy them up just so I have them. And then craft your pile of meds, sell those for at least 12.5. This will coincidentally net you about 12,500 rubles per hour in crafting in money. Now I keep these, I hang on to them and I sell them in bigger stacks. Like obviously I'm sitting on them right now. I don't know if I could sell for 12.5, but I will be able to later this evening. I was able to last night. But as you can see, I sit on them until I get a big group and then I sell them from there. Now, if you're trying to level hideout skills, you want to make sure you alternate crafts. It can be 2. You don't have to do like 3 or 5 or anything, but you just have to do a different craft each time in each module. And then that'll give you a bonus points to crafting. And that's the fastest way to level it up. So with that is AI2s. Again, with these, you want to try to make sure you get your pile of meds under 10K, which if you sit here and hang out and just hit F5 and refresh, they'll pop up eventually. You'll see some for cheaper. Like that's 100 euros. You can buy those if you want. But you can get them for less than 10K. And when I see them, I buy, if somebody's got 20 of them listed for that, I'll buy all of them up because I use them. I use them this and some of the other crafts we'll talk in a second. Craft your AI2s. It's a little dinky craft. It doesn't make you a ton of money, but it's good for that cycling side of things. And it still will make you a profit. I try to sell them for at least 4,100, but I don't get too hung up on it. Again, I'm just doing that to cycle crafts. There's other ways to make money. And one of those is basically through recycling. With the way the hideout works, with the way the med station works, a lot of these crafts are kind of like recycle crafts. In other words, you take things that are kind of used up and then you craft items out of the partially used stuff. So let me buy 2 of these real quick. You can get them for $31 instead of 32 here, but I buy them off of Peacekeeper for 32 bucks for the Grizzly. Make sure again, try to get your pile of meds under 10K. Like see right there, we got a couple. That's 10.5. I'll just buy them for whatever, just show you guys. And then craft Grizzlies. But the key is to not buy ALU splints if you don't have to. Sometimes you can get them on fence, but you're going to usually find them on players. At least that's where I get them. And you get like a 2 out of 5 one right here. That works. I don't have to use a 5 out of 5. I can use used up ones. 1 out of 5s are even better. You turn those into you craft those, and an hour I'll have 2 Grizzlies. Now, I'll sell those for 34, sometimes 35, 36K. It just kind of depends on where they're at. And that's going to make you right around, it's not a lot. It's 8, 9, maybe 10K an hour, but it's a little bit extra. Now, I know I'm talking about these, like the AI2s only make you 3K an hour and 10K an hour here and there, and it doesn't sound like much. And I get it, it really doesn't. 10K an hour, that's like 1 slot in your inventory with the scav rate. But the point is this stuff's happening while you're in raid, and everything else you're doing, you're still making money here. And once you add all of these modules up, it actually ends up being a pretty significant amount of money as you're playing through each day or whenever you're playing, if you're playing for hours or just 1 raid a day. And this especially applies once we get into things like the Lavatory and Workbench, which we'll talk about those in a while. There's a ton of money to be made there, so make sure you hang out for those. Now, the rest of the crafts in here, I started this, I probably shouldn't have, that I kind of use for recycling. For one is the AFAC craft. Now, this one, you used up IFACs. For example, I had a couple of them pulled out here. These 33 and 94s, you can use those to craft an AFAC and then sell that AFAC. It works. I don't know why I'm saying fact. So that works. Also, car med kits. If you are a lower level and you're using car med kits, or if you're a weirdo like Gigabeef is and you think these are the best out there, if you have these partially used up, you can turn those into CMSs with one med tools, sell them and make some decent profit. And if you're really frugal, I don't have it yet, but I probably will later today. You can go on Fence, and sometimes you get meds from them here. Like, I mean, we're not going to buy an 8 out of 1800 Grizzly because we can't do anything with it, but you can get used up car med kits and things off the Fence. And on level 6 fence, loyalty level 6, you definitely find meds on him that you can use to craft and actually make decent money in the med station buying those off of fence and crafting with them. Now, the last craft we'll discuss is the long craft. These are what I call long crafts. So the craft you do at the end of the day when you're getting off, or if you're only doing one craft, they're the ones that are going to make you the most money and net you the most experience crafting and hideout management to help you level those skills up if that's what you want. On the med station, it's going to be the defibrillator. I'm horrible with words. Let me pull up my prices here real quick, which, by the way, what I'm using here to show you guys this is from tarkovmarket.com. I use it for everything. It gives me charts. It gives me quick calculators and things that I can show you guys. So thanks to the guys over there, OGDM and stuff, that let me use it in my videos. If you want to check it out, a lot of this is behind a paywall, but it's $5 a month. I use it. I recommend it for anybody who likes to, but that's where this stuff's coming from. The defib craft. So what you want to do is you want to get your magnets for under 14K, your wires under 10K, capacitors under 11K, and your power banks for 19,000 or less. And you don't need to sell the defib on the flea market. You can if you want, but Therapist buys it for basically 142,000. And when you do that, you're going to make like 25K profit just from that craft the next day when you log in. Free 25,000, all the XP, everything else that comes with it. Pretty good deal. Now, next up is the nutrition unit. And this one is kind of the more pitiful of all the hideout modules. It just kind of is what it is. It's got some uses for like quests and things. But as far as making money, it's pretty tough. So for example, I'm making lots of sugars. I craft sugar. So I try to buy my chocolates for under 25K, which isn't too hard. You can see there's a bunch of them here. And I do that because my goal is to sell my sugars for 65K. Probably about 65K is what I'm aiming for. And sometimes they get more than that each white, but I don't want to get greedy, and I kind of want to get the inventory space, because if you come and look, I have a bunch of it. I have a bunch saved in here. I have rigs full of chocolates and sugars, and it's just a mess. I have a bunch. I'm eager to get rid of them. I can't wait for sugar to get expensive, but it's something you can do. It just requires you with that inventory space and eating up that room to hold onto those sugars till they are worth selling. After that, the only way you can really make profits is by drinking bottles of water. So for example, I come into Therapist and I'll just buy her 5 bottles of water here to show you. I don't need the water, but just for argument's sake, we'll show you, unless I've got one that's partially used up here, which I do. Okay, so I got a 25 out of 60 here, right? So we'll use up 24 of it. 24 of it. So we got 24. We got a 1 out of 60, right? In the hideout, in the nutrition unit, I can come in here and there's all sorts of things you can craft to make money now. You can make max energies do okay. Whiskeys is another one. You can make a little bit of money doing this, but it requires 2. Or the emergency water rations. It requires a hose as a part, which isn't too bad. We'll buy one here right now because we can sell it for the same price. But you want to get your keck tapes for like under 20K. Which we can get one right there. We'll just buy it real quick and I'll show you the craft. So when you go to click on this, it's going to ask you to select, and you got to look because sometimes it doesn't select the lowest one. So it's got this one selected. I click the 1 out of 60, and now I can craft emergency water rations. And in an hour, I'll be able to sell those. And all of these crafts that I just showed you with drinking up the bottle are about 8 to 10K. They're not a ton, but it is something to craft. That's what you're going to have to do to make money in the nutrition unit for right now. Now, I've got out of here. I got to talk about the long craft real quick. The long craft is the can of hot rod energies. Now, for this craft, you want to get your super waters for 155,000 or less, your sugars for 32K. Now, these two objects, the super waters and the sugars, they kind of go hand in hand. When one goes down, the other goes up, or other goes up, the other goes down. So sugar is going to get more expensive, but super waters will pull back. Think of it as like you want to spend like less than 190,000 on the 2 of them. Look at it like that if prices change a bunch. Get your coffee for 18K or less, and your tea for 21,000 or less. Once you craft that, it's a 12-hour craft. You want to aim for 13,000 on your hot rods, or I mean, even if you're 12,950, whatever. That's pretty much going to break even. You'll make a couple of thousand rubles on the sale, but you have that craft going all night, generating skill points. Plus, when you sell 20 of these for 13,000, you're putting, what is that, 260,000-ish through the flea market. That raises this flea market fee up here, which is really important. Not flea market fee, sorry, flea market rating, this 45.28 of mine, because once you get to 30, then you get your 3rd slot. And then once you get to 70, you get your 4th slot. And it makes it easier to sell stuff on the flea market when you have more slots. You can make more money. That's why it's kind of important to do. Now, kind of tied in with this, we'll talk about the water collector and booze generator real quick, just to get people caught up. Water collector just makes you money. There's no reason not to run it. Without any skills coming into play, hideout management actually reduces this and makes it better. A filter requires 66 out of 100 units to make a super water. Now, as you level up hideout management, that takes less and less. And I think it eventually gets down to where it only uses like 50 out of 100. I don't remember exactly. But what my point is that even if filters were like 150K right now, which they're not, they're dirt cheap, like 40 or 50K, give or take, you're going to make money because you're not using the whole filter to generate a super water. So just keep that in mind. You should always be running this. And right now, even if all you're doing is selling your super water, this covers your fuel costs for the most part. It depends on how efficient you are, obviously, but collecting these, selling them, that's going to cover your cost of fuel in most instances, which is why I don't talk a lot about it in these videos, because when you look at all of this stuff together, if you're crafting, the fuel cost is so minuscule compared to everything else, it really just isn't that important. The booze generator, however, is an interesting animal. This follows the market. And it kind of drives the market as well. You're not ever really going to make a ton of money with it. What you're going to do is you're going to take money, you're going to take rubles you have, you're going to turn it into Found and Raid moonshine, and you're going to sell that Found and Raid moonshine, make a couple of thousand rubles on each one, and then level up your flea market rating with it doing that, or use them to get your thick case, whichever you want to do. It's up to you. That is the thing. Now, as of making this right now, sugar's 32K is the price, super water's 155K. Selling the moonshines for about 245,000. That is where I'm at. You can get 250, sometimes a little bit more. What's going to happen is you're going to see sugar start to climb. It's going to get more expensive. We're going to start pushing 40,000, then 50,000, and you'll see super water pull down. And with that, you'll start to see moonshine get a little bit cheaper. We hit this peak about 2 months into wipe. Every wipe, it's about 2 months. It's not exactly. Moonshine hits its peak, and then it slowly starts to taper off and get cheaper and cheaper as the wipe goes on. And you'll see super water follow that. Sugar usually stays up. So these two kind of stay correlated with one another. The long and short of it is, basically, if you can get your components, your waters and your sugars, for about 90% of whatever you're going to sell your moonshine at, you're going to break even. That's about where it's at. Just keep that in mind as these change, and they constantly do, and they will for the rest of the wipe. It doesn't stay static. The Intel Center we'll talk about real quick. I can't show you here because I don't even have Intel 3. All I'm doing is crafting thumb drives, and it loses me money. I'm just doing it so that I have something crafting. I have something going constantly. I hate using Found and Raid stuff, so in case I need it for a daily or something, so I'll buy these real quick and start it. Once you get to Intel 3, though, you have a couple of more options. There, without any of the Lightkeeper quests, you can craft military flash drives and Intel, and those two will make you money. Not a lot, but a little bit. For the military flash drives, you're going to get the flash drives that I'm crafting now for 20K, 19K if you can. Just get them less than 20K, and then get your maps for 34K or less. Once you do that, shoot for about 135,000 on your military flash drives, which shouldn't be too hard. I think they were pushing 150 earlier today when I looked. I've got some here I can link search real quick. So they're 140, 150. So you can just kind of got to watch. You can get the peaks. They average about 135. So that's with that. The other one is Intel. And that's the funny part, is with the spikes and troughs and with military flash drives, you want to aim for about 130,000 or less on the flash drives. Get your printer paper for 17K, and then aim for like 355,000 on Intel, which shouldn't be too big of a deal, simply because I think they're worth quite a bit more than that. They push 350, 360 pretty frequently as of right now, though I don't know how long that'll hold. We're over here. I'll do a quick blurb about the Scav Case just to point it out to you guys. I do moonshine and Intel for keys, moonshine for high value items, stims, armors, guns, things like that you can't get off the flea market, but all of them work. A lot of people love the 95K. Some people swear by the 15, others just 2,500 because it's cheap and it's fast. It's RNG. There's none of these that are better. It's completely random, because if you pull a red key card out of an Intel, you're going to think that's the best one for the rest of days. As long as Tarkov exists, you're going to run Intel forever because you got a red key card. I know people that have gotten greens out of the 95K. I've gotten, I don't even remember, over all the wipes, I've gotten absurd stuff out of all of them. The key point is that it's just a random roll of the dice. It's a gamble. If you have the money, great. If you don't worry about it. That's my advice with the Scav Case. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get to the real money makers now. We've got the Lavatory. This one is good now, and it's only going to get better as the wipe goes on. Those crafts aren't there yet, but fabrics get to be really good as we get later in wipe and more people get leveled up and are using them for barters. Right now, the two you need to be focused on are primarily bleach and soap, which I don't even have heard it. I clicked it off on accident. Where's the soap at? There it is. That craft right there. Bleach and soap. These are the two that you need to be focused on. Now for bleach, what you want to do is you want to get your soap for 9K, your alkali for 14K, and then the sodium bicarbonate, which I just say sodium. I know it's not sodium, but it's easier to say. You want to get that for 20K or less. Sometimes you can get it less. And then aim for 11K on your bleach, which a lot of times you can get even more than that. Sometimes you can get 12 or 12.5. I just put 11 is the benchmark here for our prices. If you do that, you're only going to make about 10K. But here is the key. Here's the thing that I want to show you guys. If, for example, you get alkali instead of 14K, like I said, let's say you get it at 10K, which you can do. I see it down there all the time. I'll even see it at 9K. Or you get the sodium bicarbonates at like 18K or 14K. I'm going to buy that one because that's a good one. I didn't get it. 15K. You're saving a ton of money here. If you do that, your profits can end up almost doubling on the ox bleach because it's such a fast craft. For every 1,000 rubles you save over the prices I gave you, you will make 1,500 more rubles an hour on the bleach when you sell it. That's because it's such a fast craft. So if you're saving money buying components really cheap, you're gonna kill it in all of these crafts. That's the key to this. That's the key to crafting. It's selling your stuff at the right price, but it's also finding those cheap prices, stocking up on them, and crafting and then selling at the higher prices. Now, this craft is why I say soap is important. It plays off that craft, and you're gonna see it. There's gonna be people in the comments, they're gonna bitch about how I broke their craft, like it has their name on it or something. Yes, crafts can get kind of wonky after I do one of these videos for a couple of days, but it settles. Everything goes back to normal. It doesn't have that big of an impact because this is a lot of work and most people just aren't willing to put it in, or at least learn how to do it. So what'll happen is, for example, with bleach, soap is going to go up. I said buy it at 9K. You're going to see it go to 10, 11, maybe even 12K. Well, guess what? There's a soap craft that you can make money off of with that. You want to get your sausages for about 17K or less if you can. Even if you're paying 18, 19, it's not terrible. And make sure you get your salt for under 6.5. I see this go down as low as 5,000, less than I think the vendor even pays for it. So just keep an eye. You can get the salt cheap under 6,500, and then again your alkalis for 14K or less, and craft your soap. And if you're selling your soap at 9,000, you're only going to make about 11K, 12K an hour on soap. But let's say I crank this up to 10,000, that goes to almost 18K. 11,000 soap, you're talking 24K now. So even though I might impact the market, if you pay attention to the crafts that are being used, you can take advantage of that impact as well and make more money than even the crafts that I told you to do. You just have to use a little bit of brain power and work to do it. Now, for the long craft in the lavatory, what I do is grenade cases, and that's because I am constantly burning metal fuel cans. That's what I have in my generator. That's what I'm burning is metal, and I turn those into grenade cases. Now, when I'm doing that, I aim for 16,000 or less on bolts or nuts, and you'll see them sometimes at 12, sometimes at 20. The key is 16 average, so 32 for both of them. They're a little expensive right now because of the time of the day that I'm filming this. And then you want to get your metal parts for, I believe, 14,000. Let me pull it up right here. Yeah, 14,000 or less. 15,000 is not a huge deal. There's a lot of profit here. So 1,000 here or there on these parts isn't a huge deal because of the length of the craft. Turn that into a grenade case. You can sell the grenade case for like 321,000 to Therapist. All of that in, it's going to make you like 125, 130,000, obviously depending on components prices, by using the empty fuel cans. So that's what I do for my night crafts. It is long, it is 13 hours, but that's it'll get faster for me as I get higher hideout management and crafting and stuff. So that's the long craft. Now, if you're using blue fuel cans, it's not the end of the world. You can craft mag cases. You just don't make as much. Same prices apply. Let me find the mag case. Where is it? Probably scrolled by it twice now. 16K on your bolts, nuts and bolts, your empty blue fuel cans. This is only gonna make, you have to sell these on the flea though. And after the fees and everything, you're only gonna make probably 10, 15, 20, maybe 30 or 40 if you get really lucky and get mag cases when they run out or something. But that's it for the lavatory. Keep in mind that if we see fabric prices start to increase, they're hovering in that like 12 to 16K right now. So they make okay money, especially the Cordura craft. This is kind of an easy craft because you just gotta buy 4 of those. As we get a couple of more weeks in, you'll start to see these push 20, 25,000, and then the fabric crafts just kill it. That's one of the best things to craft. But that's it for the lavatory. Let's hop over to the workbench. This is the king. This is the last one. This is the best. You have the most stuff here to craft and the most money to be made. Now, the top craft right now is technically Eagle gunpowder or green gunpowder, but it has a caveat. In order to be able to buy your M67s, you have to have Spa Tour Part 2 done. And that's going to make you the most money here. If you don't have that, green gunpowder still makes great money. It's a great lazy craft because you just buy the components off the trader, the M67s and the smoke grenades both. He resets fast enough that you're never going to run out, and you just craft green gunpowder. Hour and 20 minutes, you sell these. I aim for 45K, but I've been seeing them push even like 48. 49. I haven't seen 50 yet, but I aim for 45K on the green gunpowders, and that's going to net you, if you're getting your M67s cheaper, about 35K. If you're having to buy them off the market, you're about 25K an hour. So quite a bit of money there just doing that, and it's an easy craft. There's nothing to think about. But close behind that is also a craft that's actually even easier. I guess it depends on how you look at it, but it's this circuit board craft using DVDs. If you buy your DVDs under 10K, like right now, if I would really worried about it, I buy up all of these. You see them at 10K or less, snatch them up. Because once you do that, you craft them into circuit boards, sell your circuit boards for 15K, which you can do a couple of times a day. Right now, you can see they're just over 15K, maybe even more, but a lot of times they're 11, 12. I save them up until a big stack. I think I've already sold my stack for the day. I don't think I had, I've already sold the circuit boards. I don't have any. Get a big stack of them, sell them a big stack for 15K. This is going to net you 31, 32, maybe even 35K, depending on how cheap you get your DVDs, if you're getting them in that 9 to 8K range. But just an easy craft, and it keeps the same component that you can sell in a big stack on the flea market. After that is the yellow pliers. This is another great one, and the same rule applies. Buy them under 10K. If you're getting them less, you're making that much more money. Obviously, it's a really fast craft. It's only 12 minutes, so you can really crank these out. On top of that, the beauty is you don't have to sell these on the flea market. You can just sell these straight to therapists. I don't know if I have any to show you, but they basically sell for 17,100, I think, or something to therapists. And that's all I do is I craft a bunch of round ones and then I sell them to therapists. And it makes, it's right around 30K. It's between 28 and 30K an hour, obviously depending on your crafting time. And it's just easy. It's just super easy. Now, those are my three main crafts. The two backups that are in here that you can do really well with are crafting wires and capacitors. Now, for wires, you want to make sure you get your power cords under 20K. It can be challenging sometimes, but sometimes you can get them in like 18, 15 and really make bank. You get a big stack of wires, you craft them, sell them for 11K. Sometimes you can get 12, sometimes you can get 13. It just kind of depends on the day. I aim for 11K. You do that, it's going to net you about 20K an hour. Again, it's a fallback craft, but it's a safe craft. You're not ever going to lose money doing this for the most part. So if you're not sure what to do, get your power cords, craft wires. Capacitors require a little bit more work because you got to watch, and the PSUs take up more space. But if you can get these for under 30K, which they'll show up under 30K, and you craft those into capacitors at night, capacitors will push like 18K sometimes at night, and we're not even far off there. But if you shoot for 14K, which you could probably sell them right now, you're going to make again about 20K an hour. So those are my fallback crafts. They're there. If I happen to see them, like my wish list, I have all of these items. I just click through them, and if I see stuff cheap on the prices that I mentioned, I buy them up, and that's how I kind of do things as I go through all of it. Now, for long craft, you really only have one option for a long craft to make money. At least one that's consistent, and that is 9mm rip ammo. It's going to make you about 55, 60,000 rubles just with the craft. Get your wires under 10K. Try to get your Hawk gunpowder under 25,000 if you can. Right here, there's 3 of them. You could buy it. Craft those. Sell them for at least 700 and I think it's 750, 775 rubles per round, and that's going to net you 55 to 60,000 in total profit. But me, I'm not crafting for profit on the long crafts because there's too much utility. What I end up doing is I craft lots of ammos, and right now my focus is primarily PS12B, M61, but I'll also craft BP now and again, and some of the other things in here. I've done a little bit of 300 AP blackouts so that I can run that. I'm crafting ammos to use at the end of the night for my long crafts. Just something to keep in mind. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully you guys saw some stuff in here that'll be helpful for you. And hopefully you guys realize that one of the most important things to crafting is actually buying your components, which is why I have a junk box that's dedicated to nothing but storing stuff for crafting as I buy it. It's kind of empty now, and I might even buy a second one so I can buy more components because I've gotten myself to the point where I have the money. I have the money to buy 5 or 6 million worth of components, and then that'll last me for the week essentially. And that speeds up the cycle process because I don't have to go and go through different menus and buy. I just click craft, drag the ones into my sell box, and go right back into raid. And the beauty of that is if you cycle all these crafts, On the low end, you're going to make 80, 90, 100,000 rubles an hour on top of everything else you make in your raids. On the high end, you can actually push this to like 150, even 200K if you get really good at buying your components. Now, if you don't do anything, but let's say you don't even go for the most profitable crafts, you just do one of each craft, the best craft I told you to do, and you sell those, like because you only play 1 or 2 raids a day, or when you log in, when you do that, the stuff you're going to craft is going to make you 200K, just period. That's how much money you're going to make just from one full cycle of crafts all the way around. Now, one thing that's a problem is with the economy is dynamic in Tarkov. It's constantly changing. I don't make these constantly because they take a ton of work. So it's made more of a broad stroke. I try to do them about once a month, or whenever BSG changes something major in the economy, like add another craft, change a craft, or maybe they do a shortage event and something crazy happens, and then I'll try to do an update for you guys then. Otherwise, we do weekly updates of sorts on the Patreon if you're interested in that. It's another way to support the channel and me. And I also add a bunch of value back by giving weekly crafting videos, weekly updates on things in the economy. If I see something day to day, I'll throw a post up on there telling you, hey, go loot this. It's worth a bunch of money right now because of this. Things like that, things that just don't really do well on the YouTube algorithm. And so we do it over there to help out those folks. But even though you might not be a patron, you not want to be it, I still greatly appreciate you hanging out and watching the video. I hope this added a ton of value to your experience in Tarkov. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to come over to my stream and just ask me when I'm streaming there. We're usually talking crafts and economy stuff anyways, so it just fits right in with the normal vibe of the stream. Now, if you've made it this far in the video and you're still with me, I have to imagine you liked the video. So why don't you hit that like button for me? Helps me out. Tells the algorithm you like these kind of videos so it can show you more, and that's just kind of how this whole ecosystem works. Also, we do tons of economy and guide videos like this and updates and ways to save money and budgets and all that kind of stuff. Anything to do with money, we do it here. So make sure you're subscribed if you like that, because then you'll get updated right away and you won't be watching this 2 or 3 weeks after it comes out when everybody else has already taken advantage of it and you missed out. But I've been talking enough. We'll wrap it up there. I greatly appreciate you guys, as I said before. I wish you the best of luck in your raids, and we'll see you in Tarkov.